On this episode, there's no doubt that Enlist E3 and LibertyLink GT27 soybeans pack a mighty yield punch. I would question it if anyone tells you differently. MFP payments are being paid out. Check the website listed below to see your payment amount. Saltro, a new SDS treatment, has been approved. Stay tuned because we have some powerful facts and information to share with you today. How are we doing? Let us know your thoughts on Cup of Joe by clicking the survey link below.
Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Welcome to Cup of Joe, Season 2, Episode number 6. Today we have Tommy, Turk, and Nolan as our guests, and we're going to talk about some of the things that just happened this past week, and I guess we'll start with Turk.
One thing that I want to talk about, Joe, is we continue to hear this yield difference between Enlist soybeans and Extend soybeans, and how Enlist soybeans have a yield drag, and LLGT27s as well, for that matter. And
well, the competitor's saying this, right?
Right, and we continue to hear this, but we know it just ain't so.
No,
and so we have the data, and so the question is where are they coming up with these numbers? How are they getting these numbers? Where's it coming from? You ran into something pretty interesting this week, Nolan.
Yep. So I was talking to a farmer in my territory in Western Illinois, and he they pay him to put a plot in. It's Bear does, and they do regulated plots. And I noticed there was some beans that were allegedly damaged by dicamba, and I asked, and he goes, well, they plant LLGT27 beans in this plot, and it just kind of makes me wonder, do they take that to yield when they're that damaged? And
But you have a picture of it. Let's bring that picture up.
Yes.
So you can see it's a replicated research plot. Basically, the farmer provides land, gets paid rent for it, and strangely enough, there's some LLGT27s right next to the replicated plot. So
and the Extend soybeans were
on either side of it.
The Extend soybeans were all sprayed with.
With a.
There was no damage showing on anything. So
they both sprayed dicamba on this plot.
All around it.
Obviously, they were off-label by spraying.
Well, I'm pretty sure they were using backpack sprayers and spraying, their strips and everything. And
well, it doesn't move, so it shouldn't have been an issue. So
right,
gotcha.
Correct. So there's definitely something going on there in those plots that maybe kind of makes me scratch my head and wonder where they get their yield data.
So if they are using that in their data source, then it's definitely tainted. It wouldn't be a fair fight.
No.
You know what's interesting, Joe? I've seen a lot of yield data from a lot of different companies the last couple of weeks. They've really been putting down the city and state of each plot. And that'd be interested to do some research next year to see if that plot comes up. Because, that's obviously going to show favorable terms in there for their trade compared to over.
Well, we know in the past, Joe, that every time that we've looked at their yield data, it's based on a very small number of locations. And when we look at our data, we're looking at thousands of locations. Hundreds of thousands. Yeah. And so
of plots. Yeah, we have almost 500,000 plots and 115 to 120 locations annually is what we use to generate our data. And obviously it's just kind of like somebody saying something bad about your mom when somebody says that our products don't yield. We just know it ain't so.
Yeah,
Joe, didn't we go through this a few years ago when we were selling straight LibertyLink beans, and Monsanto was saying what they had, they always say 5 bushel advantage, but whatever they were claiming to be, and it was based off 27 locations.
27 locations, and they were side by sides, and they weren't in any kind of replicated system. So at the end of the day, the right thing to do is, obviously look at the source of data, read the fine print, see how reputable it is, and then, challenge and ask questions about it. But at the end of the day, this trust factor is so big in this industry because farmers depend upon that seed to perform, and if it doesn't perform, it can make for a bad year, and a bad year is not good for a farmer, and that's where this decision on trust and the emotions run high. A lot of claims being made out there from reps that, in my opinion, maybe don't have all the information right.
And usually they have a reason that they want to make that.
That's right. So we feel very strong about our genetics. We feel very strong about the program that and the management of MS Technologies and where the breeding is done. It's just is not something that you can question that we're not going to be competitive with yield.
And sometimes they claim that, I say the industry as a whole claims that sometimes the, dinging the beans can help yield. I can guarantee these beans were dinged past the yield potential. I mean, they're shorter, the nodes are stacked, they're just not going to be near as good as what they could be.
So I guess we're definitely saying that be careful out there and be watchful but just to face value, take that these new traits, Enlist E3 and LibertyLink GT27 don't yield is not something that I would question the integrity of the rep if he said that. Just flat out said it.
Keep in mind, the same people that are saying this are also the ones that told you that dicamba wouldn't move.
Doesn't volatilize, right? That's right. That's true. Well, Turk, what do you have for us?
Well, again, that was the main thing that I was wanting to talk about. Obviously, we're still the same old on the trade war going on, but the big thing that everybody's really watching is there's a report coming out next week, and again, what's that report going to say? It'll be the first report that's actually based on field conditions and actually counts in the field. So it'll be a big report, but again, the industry's all saying, I don't believe it now. So will they believe it next week as well? We don't know. But really, the most important thing is whether that number is real or not, because I think it may be closer than people think to what the USDA is saying, because stuff is looking pretty darn good at the moment because of the rain that's been coming around. But the most important thing is it going to make it? Because as we get further into September here, we're going to continue to lose heat units and the ability for it to mature. So this late stuff has got a ways to go for everybody, and when we get into October, it gets slower. So
yeah, I would agree with you, Turk. The numbers are probably right. However, if we do not get favorable weather to close, out the season, then the numbers could be a little bit high. But right now, looks like we're gonna be okay. We give 1 and 2 week. They're not talking frost 2 weeks from now. They're not talking. And so I usually it doesn't pay to try to buck the USDA numbers in the markets. They seem to be able to figure out things. And you know what? The genetics keep getting better. Farmers keep doing a better job. Precision farming. There's so many things that are advancing every year, and it just seems like it's not like it used to be.
Yep.
But you're right. The critical thing now is to watch the weather. Are we going to get enough heat to finish this crop, or are we going to be harvesting in November?
With like 2009, 2010.
Yeah. So that's the scary part. Tommy?
Joe, I wanted to talk 1 second. There's a website that we're going to share on this broadcast here.
Let's post that website.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And it's going to be the 2019 MFP payments. So they're going to be made in 3 installments with 50% of the payments starting in August, and the remainder's coming in December and January. Obviously, if the trade war gets better or resolves, the later payments may not be something that gets facilitated out. So if they come to an agreement, you may not see those last couple payments come through. But
so this website will tell you exactly what each county.
Yep, and this is by state, by county, and you can see where you're at, and then try to calculate your MFP payment. But Joe, I wanted to kind of jump back to you, and I wanted to hear a little bit about Sultro.
Well, Sultro, we just received word this week that it did get approved, and Sultro, if you're not familiar with it, is a competitive product to Olivo for sudden death and cyst nematodes, as well as some of the other nematodes that are in the soil in the root zone. So Sultro, big claim to fame is that it doesn't have the phytotoxicity on the seed that Olivo has, and Olivo does a great job. It's been an impressive product. However, it does slow the emergence process because you get, in certain conditions, you can get what's called the halo effect, and that's that little bit of burning around the outside of the cotyledons. and Saltro does not have that. And Turk and I, well, in fact, all of us in this room here have been trained at a high level on Saltro, and we feel very confident in looking at plots and looking at data that there's a 3 bushel advantage to Saltro over Olivo.
And high sudden death
and
situations.
Also very good in high sudden death situations. Very good in those situations, and is going to be something that's going to offer farmers another option and competition in the marketplace. And so Merschman Seeds will be offering Saltro on their seed as an option, and pricing will come soon. As soon as we get the first state label, we can go ahead and set pricing. So. But we expect it to be similar to what you have seen with Olivo.
Joe, I got a question for you. You've been treating beans for a long time. You've seen the Saltro and RC treatment work in certain ways versus the Olivo. What do you think the
Tommy,
product's going to be?
You bring up an excellent point. You know, the active ingredient is very important in seed treatment. Nobody will question that, but the formulation is just as important. Absolutely. And the reason why is because if the active does not get on the seed and stay on the seed, the farmer gets no benefit. So if you have a formulation that tends to leave behind residue, that's product that's not getting on the seed. That's not giving the benefit to the farmer. Olivo is a tough product to work with its formulation. Saltro, in my opinion, from what I've seen, is a better product to work with. It has a lower usage rate, and you can only pack so much around the seed, and at that point then it gets very hard to manage it. One of the things we did this summer in our plant at West Point, we added a longer drum. We're 50% longer on our drum. It's a 12-foot drum instead of an 8-foot drum for the mixing process, and we also added a drying belt. So our whole goal was to make sure that the active stays on the seed and doesn't get left behind in the bin or come out in chunks. And when I see a chunk of seed treatment, I get really upset because I know I'm not delivering what the farmer paid for.
Right.
And so we pay very close attention to the formulations. In fact, we have one person that reviews the formulations, a third party that looks at our formulations and makes sure that what we're doing, we're going to get the product on the seed, it's going to stay on the seed, and it's going to give the farmer the performance they want.
And less dust off too, Joe.
Less dust off. And like I say, the improvements we made in our plant here at West Point are going to make a big difference, I think, in the appearance of the seed, and then also making sure that active stays on the seed.
Awesome.
So that's, it was a major project that we undertook this summer to improve our quality.
It's going to make a big difference.
Big difference.
So appreciate that.
Well, that kind of wraps up this week's episode. We appreciate your business, and we look forward to talking to you about these new traits, LibertyLink GT27 and Enlist E3, that have good yield potential, no matter what the other guys say. But we'll see you next week. Take care.